The Kazuri delegation toured the World Health Organization headquarters in Geneva with measured steps, their crystalline forms casting prismatic patterns across the polished floors. Dr. Chen watched as her colleagues gazed in undisguised wonder at the aliens' demonstration of their medical nanites healing a terminal cancer patient in real time. "The cellular regeneration rate is impossible," whispered Dr. Haruki Tanaka, the WHO's lead oncologist. His hands trembled as he reviewed the readings. "They've accomplished in minutes what would take our most advanced treatments months, if we could do it at all." Dr. Chen maintained her professional composure, but unease crept along her spine as Thalak approached. The Kazuri ambassador stood nearly 7 feet tall, its translucent body housing swirling patterns of bioluminescent energy. "Your species' medical understanding is remarkably advanced for your technological development," Thalak observed, its voice resonating with harmonics that made the listeners feel inexplicably calm. "Your healers possess something unique, a neural pattern we have rarely encountered. The combination of analytical precision with empathetic connection creates exceptional potential." The ambassador extended what appeared to be a hand, though the appendage shifted form as it moved. "We propose an exchange of knowledge that will benefit both our species. 200 of your most accomplished medical practitioners aboard our research vessel for 6 months. In return, we will provide technology to eliminate your most devastating diseases." United Nations Secretary-General Okonkwo stepped forward. "While generous, your proposal would temporarily remove many of Earth's most critical medical personnel, perhaps a smaller delegation. The knowledge transfer requires a minimum neural network to establish proper educational protocols." Thalak interrupted smoothly. "We understand your hesitation, but consider the millions who suffer while we debate." Dr. Chen recognized the subtle manipulation but couldn't deny the potential benefits. If the Kazuri technology could be adapted for Earth's use, billions of lives would improve overnight. The world's governments debated for precisely 3 days before accepting the Kazuri proposal. Selection committees in every country identified their brightest medical minds for the exchange program. Dr. Chen, as head of the WHO, would lead the Earth delegation alongside researchers, surgeons, and medical specialists from 47 nations. The night before departure, Chen sat alone in her apartment overlooking Lake Geneva. Her terminal displayed profiles of the selected team members. Brilliant minds, all of them. Dr. Amara Okafor's neurosurgical innovations had revolutionized stroke treatment. Dr. Ji-Won Park had created breakthrough vaccination protocols that saved millions of children. 200 irreplaceable healers, all boarding an alien vessel tomorrow. Her secure line chimed. Captain Maya Okafor's face appeared on screen, her military uniform crisp despite the late hour. "Eliza, I've reviewed the Kazuri agreement again. Their language about neural patterns concerns me. My security team should accompany the medical delegation." Chen sighed. The Kazuri were explicitly clear. Only medical personnel. They consider military presence provocative. "That's precisely what worries me," Maya replied, her expression tense. "Why would advanced beings fear our primitive weapons unless they planned something we might fight against?" "Not everything is a threat, Maya. Sometimes miraculous things simply happen." As their conversation ended, Chen didn't notice the microscopic Kazuri probe outside her window, its sensors focused intently on her neural activity. In the mothership above, the Supreme Intelligence processed the scanned data and pulsed with satisfaction. The human healers would make an exceptional harvest, particularly this one, whose neural patterns showed extraordinary complexity. The collection would begin soon. Captain Maya Okafor stared at the blank screen where her sister's image should have appeared. This marked the 4th missed call since the communications blackout began. The official Kazuri explanation, electromagnetic interference in their communication systems, rang hollow to her trained ears. "Permission to speak freely, General?" Maya asked, standing rigidly before General Santiago's desk at UN Space Command. The general gestured for her to continue, his weathered face grave. The timing of this blackout coincides with the installation of Kazuri medical interfaces in our major hospitals. I've been monitoring unusual data traffic from these devices. Maya placed a tablet on his desk. They're collecting neural scans from patients and medical staff, far beyond the diagnostic requirements they disclose. General Santiago studied the data with narrowed eyes. Correlation isn't causation, Captain. Sir, my sister predicted this. Maya's composure slipped momentarily. In her last transmission, Amara mentioned the Kozuri's unusual interest in neural mapping. The connection was unstable, but she seemed afraid. After a lengthy silence, Santiago nodded. Assemble a reconnaissance team. Small, deniable. If the Kozuri have nothing to hide, they'll welcome a wellness check on our people. 48 hours later, Maya's team approached the mothership in a shuttle bearing diplomatic markings. The crystalline vessel hung in low Earth orbit, its surface refracting sunlight in hypnotic patterns. After 3 hours of increasingly tense communications, the Kozuri granted permission to dock, with strict limitations. Only 2 representatives may board, came the melodic but firm instruction from their liaison. And only for 30 minutes. Maya selected herself and Dr. Kenzo Yamada, who had worked directly with the Kozuri during their initial demonstrations on Earth. As they passed through the airlock, the alien atmosphere carried a sweet, almost cloying scent. Something's wrong, Dr. Yamada whispered as they followed their Kozuri escort through pulsing crystalline corridors. The ship's internal structure has been reconfigured. These aren't research facilities anymore. Their escort led them to a sterile chamber where 3 Kozuri representatives waited. Behind them, a large viewscreen displayed what appeared to be sleeping human forms. Your delegation is engaged in deep neural synchronization, explained the central Kozuri, its crystalline form taller and more elaborate than the others. Interruption would damage both our species' research progress. You may observe their well-being remotely. Maya studied the screen, searching for Amara. We request direct contact with Dr. Chen. Impossible during neural integration, came the immediate response. However, we prepared a data package confirming their health metrics. As Dr. Yamada accepted the crystal data storage device, Maya noticed movement in a connecting corridor. Human figures in white uniforms being escorted by Kozuri guards, their movements unnaturally stiff. Who are they? She demanded, stepping toward the corridor. The Kozuri moved with unexpected speed, blocking her path. Technical support personnel, your inspection time has concluded. Back on the shuttle, Dr. Yamada analyzed the provided data while Maya piloted them away from the mothership. These aren't health metrics, he finally said, his voice hollow. They're neural maps, incredibly detailed. But they're degrading. Like batteries being drained. The shuttle's proximity alarm blared. A small object had detached from the mothership, rapidly approaching Earth's atmosphere. Maya altered course to intercept, discovering an escape pod tumbling on an erratic trajectory. Inside, they found Marcus Chen, Dr. Eliza Chen's younger brother, and a medical technician on the exchange. His body bore precise surgical scars, and neural interface ports dotted his skull. His eyes fluttered open as Maya leaned over him. They're not researchers, he gasped, voice barely audible. They're harvesters. They feed on neural patterns. Our capacity for healing is like a drug to them. The exchange program, it's just a farm. His eyes rolled back as he slipped into unconsciousness. As if confirming his words, alarms began sounding across global communication channels. In 17 major hospitals across Earth, Kozuri representatives had simultaneously begun abducting medical personnel. The harvest had expanded beyond the mothership. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never been so densely packed. Representatives from every nation stood shoulder to shoulder as footage from hospital security systems played on the massive screens. The images showed Kozuri representatives transforming, their elegant crystalline forms sprouting appendages that incapacitated and collected medical personnel with mechanical efficiency. The Global Casualty Report, announced Admiral Helena Reyes, her voice steady despite her evident exhaustion. 614 medical staff abducted from Earth facilities in coordinated strikes. 273 security personnel dead. 42 civilians killed in crossfire. She paused, allowing the numbers to register. These figures do not include the 200 exchange delegates already aboard the mothership. We assume they remain alive as moral resources. General William Harrington stepped forward, his decorated uniform a stark contrast to the diplomatic attire surrounding him. The Kezuri have retreated to their vessel with their captives. Their secondary ships have withdrawn from Earth's surface. Intelligence suggests they're consolidating their harvest before departing our system. How much time do we have? Asked the French representative. 72 hours, according to our analysis of their propulsion system's energy signatures, replied Harrington. Once they break orbit, we lose any chance of recovering our people. The Chinese representative rose. What military options exist? Surely we cannot match their technology. Harrington's weathered face remained impassive. No conventional military response would succeed against their defenses. However, he nodded to Captain Maya Okafor, who stepped to the podium. The Kezuri possess advanced technology, but have revealed 3 critical vulnerabilities. Maya explained, displaying tactical schematics. First, their physical forms are surprisingly fragile. Conventional weapons are effective at close range. Second, they've evolved as apex predators with no natural enemies. Their security protocols are rudimentary. Finally, she paused, they fundamentally misunderstand human nature. She clicked to the next slide, displaying images of special forces units from around the world. They targeted our healers, those who preserve life at all costs. In doing so, they revealed they have no concept of humanity's capacity for specialized warfare. Silence fell across the chamber as understanding dawned. The Russian representative finally spoke. You propose sending killers after those who took our healers. Not just killers, corrected Maya. Specialists who understand the human body's vulnerabilities as intimately as our doctors understand its preservation. Combat medics, special forces, operators trained in infiltration and extraction. General Harrington resumed the podium. Operation Angel of Death, a multinational strike team comprised of the most lethal specialists Earth can offer. Their mission: board the Kezuri vessel, recover our medical personnel, and ensure the Kezuri never consider humanity prey again. Heated debate erupted across the chamber. The Brazilian representative's voice cut through the chaos. This would be our first unified military action against an extraterrestrial species. The precedent we set. The precedent was set when they harvested our doctors, interrupted the Indian representative, her voice sharp. What message do we send to the cosmos if we allow this without response? UN Secretary General Okonkwo raised his hands for silence. We vote now. A decision delayed is a decision to abandon our people. One by one, the member nations cast their votes. The decision was unprecedented in its unanimity. Operation Angel of Death was authorized with full international backing. As the chamber emptied, Maya approached Dr. Marcus Chen, now recovered enough to attend the session in a wheelchair. Will you help us? We need everything you learned about their physiology, their ship layout. His eyes, hollow from his ordeal, finally showed a spark. My sister is still there. So is yours. He nodded once. I'll help your angels learn how to make the Kezuri bleed. The Alpine facility hummed with focused intensity as Colonel Raven Blackwood moved between training stations. Once a CER and research outpost, the underground complex had been converted into Operation Angel of Death's headquarters in less than 18 hours, a testament to the urgency driving every government involved. Show me, Blackwood commanded, stopping beside a workbench where a South Korean operator disassembled and modified a standard-issue rifle. Sergeant Park Min-ho lifted the weapon. Crystalline structures shatter at specific resonance frequencies. We've modified ammunition to vibrate on impact, causing catastrophic fractures in Kezuri bodies. He demonstrated the loading mechanism. 1 shot, 1 kill. Blackwood nodded approval and continued her rounds. In the medical bay, Dr. James and Nkosi, supervised as combat medics, studied holographic displays of Kazuri physiology, gleaned from Marcus Chen's testimony, and limited autopsy data from a Kazuri casualty recovered during the hospital attacks. Their neural pathways conduct both energy and information, Nkosi explained, pointing to glowing filaments in the hologram. Disrupt these pathways here, or here, and their entire system collapses. Blackwood watched as the medics practiced precision strikes on mannequins with glowing targets representing vital points. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were surgical in their approach to combat, their movements economical and precise. "Colonel," Captain Maya Okafor called, beckoning from the communications hub. "The infiltration team has completed their simulation." Blackwood followed Maya to where 12 operators in matte black gear stood before a holographic representation of the mothership. Their team leader, Commander Zhao Wei of Chinese Special Forces, manipulated the display. "We've identified 3 viable entry points," Zhao explained. "Maintenance conduits here and here remain unguarded according to thermal imaging. The waste disposal system here cycles every 40 minutes, creating a 5-minute window for insertion." "Casualties?" Blackwood asked. "Simulations project 40% losses using conventional tactics," Zhao replied, her expression neutral. "However, with the modified equipment and Dr. Nkosi's intelligence on Kazuri vulnerabilities, we believe we can reduce that to under 20%. Blackwood absorbed this without visible reaction. Every specialist in the facility understood the mission's desperation. Nearly 1,000 of Earth's most brilliant medical minds hung in the balance, with millions more at risk if the Kazuri returned with reinforcements. "Time is our enemy," Blackwood reminded them, checking the countdown display dominating the command center. 41 hours until they break orbit. She summoned the team leaders to the central briefing area, where a complete holographic model of the mothership rotated slowly. The gathered specialists, 97 operators from 17 nations, fell silent as she addressed them. "You represent humanity's answer to an existential threat," Blackwood began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. "Each of you was selected not just for combat proficiency, but for surgical precision. The Kazuri targeted our healers, believing us incapable of meaningful response. They failed to understand a fundamental truth about our species." She activated a display showing images of the medical personnel held captive. "Humans specialized early in our evolution. Some of us dedicated our lives to preserving others. Some," she paused, looking around the room at the assembled operators, "specialized in the precise application of force." The modified caduceus symbol, the medical staff, and serpent twisted into a weapon, appeared on the main screen. "From this moment forward, you are the angels of death. Your mission has 3 objectives. Recover our medical personnel, secure Kazuri technology for analysis, and ensure they never target Earth again." Commander Zhao stepped forward. "And if recovery proves impossible?" Blackwood's expression hardened. "Then you ensure the Kazuri learn why. Throughout human history, those who healed and those who killed were often one and the same." The maintenance conduit stretched before Maya's team like a crystalline artery, pulsing with soft blue light. They moved in perfect silence, each operator maintaining tactical spacing despite the confined environment. Their modified combat suits, matte black with circuitry designed to mimic Kazuri energy signatures, provided both camouflage and protection against the ship's internal sensors. "Junction approaching," Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered through the team comm. "Thermal signatures ahead." Maya signaled a halt. Their intelligence on the mothership's layout came from Marcus Chen's partial memories and satellite imaging, neither completely reliable. Every intersection represented potential discovery. She activated her helmet's advanced optics, extending a fiber optic probe around the corner. The feed showed 2 Kazuri drones manipulating crystalline panels in the adjacent corridor. Unlike the diplomatic forms they'd presented on Earth, These creatures were clearly designed for maintenance, their bodies segmented and utilitarian. Maya relayed hand signals to her team. Rodriguez and Sergeant Kumar moved into position, specialized disruptors ready. On her mark, they struck simultaneously, the weapons emitting focused sonic pulses that shattered the drone's crystalline structures before they could transmit alarm signals. Efficient, noted Dr. Mkosi through their comms from the command center. Their neural network appears isolated within functional units. Destroy them quickly enough, and the hive mind receives no warning. The team continued deeper into the vessel, encountering minimal resistance. This changed dramatically as they approached a massive chamber near the ship's core. Life signs, Kumar reported, his scanner displaying hundreds of human biosignatures. Found them. The chamber entrance was guarded by 4 crystalline sentinels, larger and more heavily armored than the maintenance drones. Traditional infiltration doctrine would suggest bypassing such a force, finding another entry point, but time constraints made such caution impossible. 4 targets, synchronized takedown, Maya ordered. Precision fire only. We can't risk damaging what's inside. The Angels moved with practiced coordination, their modified weapons discharging near silently. The Kezuri guards collapsed into glittering fragments before they could respond. Inside the chamber, the true horror of the Kezuri harvest became apparent. Hundreds of transparent pods lined the walls in concentric circles, each containing a suspended human. Earth's medical personnel floating unconscious, while neural interfaces drilled into their skulls. Crystalline tubes pulsed with luminescent fluid extracted from the captives. Maya forced herself to remain focused despite the nightmarish scene. Find Dr. Chen. She's the priority extraction. The team spread out, checking life signs on each pod. Rodriguez beckoned urgently from the chamber center, where a special cluster of pods contained what appeared to be senior medical personnel. Dr. Eliza Chen hung suspended in the central pod, her normally vibrant face gray and drawn, neural filaments penetrating her skull at precise intervals. Life signs stable but weakening, Rodriguez reported, checking the pod's external diagnostics. They're draining her faster than the others. As they prepared to disconnect Chen's pod, Maya spotted movement among the Kezuri fragments near the entrance, the shattered pieces reassembling, forming a new communication node. We've been compromised, she warned, raising her weapon. Throughout the chamber, alarm signals pulsed through the crystalline architecture. The extraction just became significantly more complicated. Alpha Team, begin disconnect procedures for primary targets, Maya ordered. Bravo Team, establish defensive perimeter. She approached her sister Amara's pod, placing her hand against the transparent surface. We're getting you out of here, she promised. The ship trembled as defense protocols activated. Through the chamber's crystalline walls, Maya could see Kezuri warrior forms converging from adjacent sections, their bodies larger, angular, designed for combat. Colonel Blackwood, Maya transmitted to the command center. We've located the medical personnel but triggered defenses. Request immediate backup at extraction point Charlie. The first pod disconnected with a pneumatic hiss, Dr. Chen's unconscious form slumping forward into Rodriguez's arms. One down, hundreds more to go. And the Kezuri were coming. Dr. Eliza Chen's eyes fluttered open, consciousness returning in painful fragments. The stereo lighting of the extraction chamber burned her retinas after weeks suspended in the neural harvest pod. Captain Maya Okafor supported her weight as Chen struggled to stand. Maya. Her voice emerged as a rasp, vocal cords atrophy from disuse. You shouldn't be here. None of you should. Gunfire echoed from the chamber entrance where Bravo Team held position against advancing Kezuri warriors. The Angels' modified weapons shattered the crystalline attackers, but each destroyed form released shimmering particles that assembled into new, smaller units. We're extracting everyone, Maya explained, helping Chen to a makeshift medical station where Lieutenant Koshiro, a combat medic, assessed recovered personnel. Can you walk? Chen clutched Maya's arm with surprising strength. Listen to me. I've been conscious inside their network. The Kezuri aren't just stealing our medical knowledge. They're integrating our neural patterns, learning how we think. A thunderous impact shook the chamber as larger Kezuri forms began battering the reinforced doors. Sergeant Kumar's voice crackled over the comm. Barricade failing. 2 minutes maximum. Rodriguez approached, supporting Dr. Amara Okafor. Maya, your sister. Maya embraced Amara briefly before returning to tactical concerns. We've disconnected 32 medical personnel. There are hundreds more, and extraction shuttles can only hold 50 per trip. They're adapting, Chen warned, pointing toward the chamber entrance where the Kezuri attackers had changed tactics. Rather than charging directly into gunfire, they now used coordinated movements, taking cover behind structural elements. They're implementing human combat strategies absorbed from our neural patterns. A series of explosions rocked the ship as Charlie Team, led by Commander Zhao, executed their diversion in the vessel's propulsion section. The distraction bought precious moments, but the Kezuri response grew more coordinated with each passing minute. We need a force multiplier, Maya decided, turning to Chen. Doctor, you said you were conscious in their network. Could you access it again? Chen shuddered visibly. The neural interface is bidirectional. I discovered I could transmit as well as receive, but attempting to disrupt their network nearly killed me. What about a targeted disruption? Dr. Mkosi suggested through the comlink. Not to destroy the network, but to introduce conflicting commands. Chen's eyes widened with sudden understanding. Combat instincts. If we feed pure human survival impulses into their shared consciousness. Maya grasped the implication immediately. It would be like introducing a virus into their hive mind. I'll need direct access to their primary neural junction, Chen said, pointing toward a pulsing crystalline node in the chamber ceiling, and someone with intense combat experience to form the connection. Maya unholstered her sidearm and placed it in Chen's hand. Take what you need from me. The doctor hesitated only briefly before placing her palm against Maya's temple. With her other hand, she reached toward the neural junction that Sergeant Kumar had pulled down from the ceiling using a grappling line. This will hurt both of us, Chen warned. Maya nodded grimly. Make it count. Their connected hands touched the pulsing crystal. Pain erupted behind Maya's eyes as memories flooded forth. Combat operations, split-second life or death decisions, the pure animal instinct of survival that had kept her alive through 3 war zones. Chen channeled this raw experience directly into the Kezuri neural network. Throughout the ship, the effect was immediate and catastrophic. Warrior drones froze, their programming conflicting with the new combat imperatives. Some turned on each other, unable to distinguish friend from foe as human survival instincts overrode their collective consciousness. Chen collapsed as the connection broke, blood trickling from her nose. It worked, she whispered. But it's temporary. And they'll be coming for us now. All of them. Maya helped her to her feet as the chamber doors sealed automatically, cutting off the confused Kezuri forces. Then we moved to Phase 2. We're not just rescuing our people anymore. Her expression hardened. We're taking down the entire hive. The journey toward the mothership's central core resembled a descent into some crystalline hell. Colonel Blackwood led her strike team through corridors that shifted and sealed behind them, the vessel's architecture responding to the chaos in the hive mind by attempting to isolate the intruders. The ship itself is alive, muttered Lieutenant Santos, as a passageway narrowed behind them, nearly catching his equipment pack. Not alive, corrected Dr. James Nkosi through their comlink. Responsive. The crystalline structure adapts based on commands from the Supreme Intelligence. Your disruption has confused those commands, but the adaptation continues. Blackwood checked her tactical display. 3 blinking dots had gone dark during their advance. Operators lost to unexpected structural shifts or Kezuri defenders. The remaining team moved with heightened caution, using breaching charges to create paths where normal routes had sealed. 500 meters to the core chamber, Sergeant Wilson reported, consulting her scanner. Heavy energy signatures ahead. The passage widened into an antechamber guarded by a Kazuri figure unlike any they'd encountered. Taller than the others, its crystalline form incorporating iridescent elements that pulsed with internal light. "That's Thalek," Dr. Chen's voice confirmed over the comm. The ambassador who first approached Earth, a direct neural extension of the Supreme Intelligence. The ambassador's melodic voice resonated through the chamber, distorted now with harmonics that made the team's teeth ache. "Humans, your neural patterns suggested primitive development, limited tactical capacity. We miscalculated." Blackwood signaled her team to take flanking positions. "You targeted our healers. Did you think we would not respond?" "Your response is irrelevant," Thalek replied, its form shifting as crystalline protrusions extended like blades. "The harvest will continue. Your resistance provides valuable new neural patterns, aggression templates we had not considered worth absorbing." The ambassador moved with shocking speed, crystal blades slashing toward Blackwood. She dodged with practiced precision, her modified sidearm discharging 3 rounds into the creature's midsection. The crystalline form fractured, but immediately began reforming. "Central mass ineffective," she reported as her team opened fire from multiple angles. Wilson analyzed her scanner readings. "Target the junction at the base of its neck structure. Different crystalline composition, likely the neural control node." The team adjusted their aim with surgical precision. The ambassador's form shattered into thousands of glittering fragments, which quivered but failed to reassemble. Beyond the antechamber, a massive door stood sealed, the final barrier to the core. Blackwood placed shaped charges at structural weak points identified by Dr. Nkosi's analysis. Extraction teams report 63% of medical personnel secured. Maya's voice reported through the comm. "Shuttles departing in sequence. We're running out of time." "Colonel." "Understood." Blackwood detonated the charges, the crystalline door collapsing inward. The core chamber stretched before them, a vast spherical space whose walls curved upward into darkness. At its center hovered the Supreme Intelligence, a massive crystalline structure resembling the human brain constructed from interlocking geometric patterns. Pulsing light flowed through its structure, and thousands of filaments extended outward, connecting to the ship systems. "Magnificent," breathed Dr. Nkosi over the comlink. A complete neural network externalized into crystalline form. The structure pulsed brighter as they approached, its voice projecting directly into their minds rather than through sound. "Your species presents unprecedented neural complexity. The harvest will not be limited to your healers now. We have reconsidered. All human neural patterns have value. Our fleet approaches. Your entire world will be harvested." Blackwood signaled her team to deploy the specialized device they'd brought. Not the explosives many had expected, but a modified neural transmitter designed by Dr. Chen and Earth's remaining neurologists. "We didn't come to negotiate," Blackwood replied, activating the device. "We came to send a message." The neural transmitter activated with a soft hum, establishing connection with the Supreme Intelligence. Unlike the harvesting technology used on human subjects, this device worked in reverse, broadcasting rather than extracting. Colonel Blackwood stood firm, his crystalline tendrils extruded from the massive structure, probing toward the device with evident curiosity. "Your primitive technology cannot harm us," the Supreme Intelligence communicated, the message arriving directly in their minds. "Though your resistance is unexpected. We're not trying to harm you," Blackwood replied, nodding to Lieutenant Santos, who activated the second phase of their plan. "We're making you a beacon." The transmitter's signal amplified, connecting to the mothership's communication array. What flowed into the Supreme Intelligence wasn't destructive code or weapons fire, but information, meticulously compiled data on everything humanity had learned about the Kazuri, their physical vulnerabilities, their tactical weaknesses, their complete dependence on neural harvesting for evolutionary advancement. Most damning of all, recordings from the harvesting chambers showing the suffering of Earth's healers. "Your approaching fleet will receive this transmission," Blackwood explained as the Supreme Intelligence's crystalline structure pulsed with increasing agitation. They'll know precisely how a primitive species infiltrated your vessel, how we identified your vulnerabilities, how we turned your own neural network against you. The chamber trembled as the Supreme Intelligence attempted to sever the connection, but Dr. Chen's team had designed the transmitter to be irreversible once initiated. The data would continue flowing until complete, a comprehensive record of the Kazuri's failure. Extraction complete, Maya's voice reported through the comm. All recovered medical personnel secured. Final shuttles departing now. Blackwood checked her tactical display. The countdown timer showed 14 minutes until the transmission would complete. The mothership's systems were already showing signs of instability as the Supreme Intelligence diverted resources to fighting the information broadcast. "Angels of Death, begin withdrawal," she ordered. Mission accomplished. Santos looked up from the transmitter. "Colonel, someone needs to remain to ensure the transmission completes." "I'm aware, Lieutenant." Blackwood's expression remained calm. "Take the team. I'll ensure our message is delivered. With respect, Colonel." "That's an order." Her tone brooked no argument. "Tell Earth what happened here. Make sure they're ready if the Kazuri are foolish enough to return." As her team reluctantly withdrew, Blackwood stood alone before the Supreme Intelligence, whose crystalline structure now flickered with erratic pulses. "You sacrifice yourself," the entity observed. "Illogical." "No," Blackwood countered. "Perfectly logical. One life to save millions. The same calculation our healers make every day." The ship shuddered as critical systems began failing, the neural network destabilizing under the strain of forced transmission. Through the chamber's crystal walls, Blackwood could see the last extraction shuttles breaking away from the mothership, carrying Earth's recovered medical personnel to safety. From her equipment pack, she removed a small holographic projector and activated it. The faces of her family appeared, a husband and daughter she hadn't seen in months due to mission preparations. "You never understood what makes us human," she told the Supreme Intelligence as the countdown reached its final minute. "It's not just our neural patterns or our knowledge. It's our willingness to die for each other." The transmission completed with a high-pitched tone. Throughout the mothership, systems began shutting down as the Supreme Intelligence collapsed in on itself, overwhelmed by the forced broadcast. In deep space, the approaching Kazuri fleet received the transmission in its entirety. They witnessed the suffering of Earth's healers, the devastating effectiveness of human military response, and the complete failure of their harvesting mission. Blackwood's final message reached them as the mothership's lights flickered out. "You targeted our healers. Remember what we sent in return. Earth is protected." 6 months later, Earth's defense systems detected the Kazuri fleet at the edge of our solar system, only to track their immediate course correction away from Earth. The message had been received.